The Vikings celebrated Yule, their Christmas, already for 2000 years ago. And it was a big event when you welcomed all the people around in the farms and stuff like that to join you in the longhouse. And everyone bring whatever they had. Some had mead, some had beer, some had some pig, fish. Well, they bring everything to the table. It was a big feast that was in 3 days in a row. And even if you're not someone they recognized or noticed, they said like, someone's coming towards the longhouse. Well, come in, it's a feast, come and join us. And they think they done that because they like the new stories they can tell. They were a little bit tired of their old ones. It must have been such a sight for those people coming inside this longhouse. Well, if they weren't Vikings, because then it was used to getting blood stained in your face and this big pig all over the longhouse, and well, they had the animals inside, so the smell wasn't so good, and the pigs on that time was a lot more fat on. So you can imagine the Vikings eating the pig and the fats all over the face and on the beer and everything like that. It's even mentioned in some stories how they looked on Yule. But still, they did a ritual on all of this food before they started to eat too. And symbols, many symbols before Yule. And Yule is a bolt, and a bolt is a sacrifice. So they sacrificed this pig because in Valhalla they had a pig that they eat and feasted on every night. So in the morning the pig was there again, already done for to be eaten at the feast again. So one pig could hold all the people in Valhalla. So that's why they sacrificed the pig. And they even sacrificed the goat too, in the name of Thor, the thunder god. And well, they decorated their home also with halm all over the ground and the dried grass. It would be much warmer too with the grass on the ground, and of course much prettier. And that's why we even say we are bringing in Christmas today. And well, we were bringing in dry grass until the 1500, around that time, when people started to realize that the place could burn up. It was too dangerous to bring it inside. But it did it in churches too. And well, when you're talking about Christmas bolt, you start to forget things. So the Christmas went on and they started to celebrate, and it's mentioned in Heimdallsgrillen in Edda by Snorre that the first cheers, or skål as they said, was to the god Odin. And it was just to get through the darkness in the winter. The midwinter was long days, it was harsh, it was really bad for Vikings. So they cheered for Odin and the strength and the light to come back. And the second cheer was to frej, and it was just to get everything to grow after this midnight event. So they have more food because they all remember that long lasting winter for 3 years. And the third skål was to grog, and that skål was just for these 3 days of feasting and having fun and many laughters. And after that one they started to cheer and telling names of every person under the last year that died, either in battle, hunger, or whatever. And the word was free, so it wasn't someone who's telling this name and this name. Everyone could say skål to the beloved ones that they lost. And after that, there's not mentioned anything in Edda about how they went home. But they were probably really drunk, because some of the meat, they were butchered right before this event, and other stuff were butchered before, dried and salted. And this salted stuff, well, it brings you thirsty. So they drink a lot of beer, mead and wine. The ones pretty enough had wine, you know, to make their status. They think the wine is from Rome or maybe from some other countries, but Rome really liked wine. The beer back in the days, they served even to children, and the beer was light beer. And on the Yule, the beer was about 10 to 20% alcohol in them. And they loved to drink, so they feasted in 3 days, and after these 3 days they went home. And they were probably not feeling pretty good at all, being sick, having a headache and stuff like that. And the Christianity, well, they didn't like this Yule event at all. And one writing says it was 99 animals and 99 humans sacrificed a year. But nobody believes that's true. And they haven't found any proof about that either. But there was this problem, you know, Harald Hårfager, he loved Yule. And his son Håkon, he grew up in the British Island. And in 1933, he went over to Scandinavia to take over the throne. And he was on this Yule fest. And he was afraid of his life. Because the heathens were making marks and rituals and stuff like that on his food. So he got so mad afterwards, he wanted to attack the place where this had happened, but the Jarl convinced him not to. So then he took Christianity to Sweden and Norway and Denmark and forbid Yule. The history behind Lucia, she was born in Italy, and she was, she became a saint after her death. She died in the name of the Christianity because she wanted to be Christian and didn't want to follow the Romans' ways in the rituals. So they tried to burn her, but she didn't die. So then finally they chopped her head off. Lucia it wasn't okay to be Christian those days, so all of her friends were in the jail house. So she went every day with light on her head down the stairs with food to them. And nowadays we look kind of funny. Back in the days she sacrificed her eyes to one man in Rome, but he refuses them because she was Christian. When you look at Lucia, you see often her as a saint. She doesn't have any white dress like today. The white dress today stands for the light coming in the darkness, and the red band stands for her blood, her sacrificing herself in the name of Christianity. And the light on her head is actually from when she was bringing food to to the other persons. Lucia was also not just good. In some stories they say that she was bad, and she was a magician, and well, they didn't think she was Christian at all. They think she was Adam's first wife, and they were equal. And when Lucia didn't like to be under Adam, then he refused her. So she went underground, got a lot of children, and they were all demons instead. But still, the memory of Lucia keeps on going. In Sweden we bring it back in 1800. And before that we didn't have this Lucia feast like we do today. So then we are going to our Lucia buns. They are yellow and really tasty with saffron in. Saffron had been a medicine almost until 1500 after Jesus. And before we call them saffron buns or saffron cats, we call them devil cats, because we were having all of this making those buns, to not think about at all this devil stuff, because we were have to focus on not thinking of the devil. These buns are made in Germany, and they were making it just for that fact, not thinking of the devil at all. And they are light yellow, so it's the sun in the cold wintry days, and we bring the light so the children doesn't have to be chased by this devil cat all over. They will go and smack them in the back and stuff like that. And the S form you see on Saffron's bully is actually a pig. Really nice one, and we love to do it because it goes faster. And then we have, now we are going to talk about gingerbread, and it's from Germany. Really lovely, and has been a medicine for, well, depression till epilepsy in many years. It's one of the oldest cakes we have today, and in Sweden we have a saying, if you eat one, in Sweden we have this saying, if you ate a gingerbread you become nice. Well, it's from a king in Sweden. He was so, well, he wasn't depressed at all, he was just stubborn, not in a good mood at all. So the doctor told him, well, you have to eat gingerbread. The Celtics were amazed about Stonehenge in the British Islands. The sunlight went down on the midwinter, exactly between two stones in an opening. The Celtics were amazed about many things, and one of those things are the mistletoe. The Celtics thought it was the healer in life, and the mistletoe near one oak has a bigger purpose. And the mistletoe was cut off in the 6th moon's day, and that's because it's magical powers and stuff like that. And they put it together and over the doors, like we do it today, but not in the purpose of kissing each other's like we are doing today, instead of healing the home. And the Greeks, they thought it was the lead way to the underworld. So they thought that it was so mystical when you were in a battle and you went upon mistletoe on a field. Then you have to put all your weapons down and just wait in peace for one night. They were having this as medicine, and it were helping epilepsy and stomach pains and stuff like that. Really magical. And in the Viking mythology we are having this mistletoe when Frigg begs everyone to not hurt Balder, but she forgot the mistletoe. And then Loki, well, he went and made an arrow out of this mistletoe and gave it to Herder, and Herder took this arrow and pulled on the strings, and Balder went down dead. And then it was really hard for Frigg, because Hel couldn't get her out of Hell either. But still, the Vikings went out of seas and telling this story to everyone, and everyone understand that this was in love, real love. So then the mistletoe became associated with love. The Christmas tree, they say, is from Germany, from 1500, but still in our winter bolts and midwinter we already had trees inside to celebrate the healing and the nature and the way out of the darkness. So it's nothing new, but the Germans took it inside and started to painting it. The Christmas tree was painted a lot with glitters and stuff like that, but before that it was things you can eat, like gingerbread, dried apples, dried fruit in general. Even the Celtics had this inside when they were celebrating. So nowadays we have this Christmas decoration, and everything in our Christmas decoration is from Germany. Christmas presents is something we already talked a little bit in the goat, and when we talked about Odin and the horse, the hunt. Still, Christmas present is mentioned in Rome in the year 300, and then it was more New Year's Eve's presents than Christmas presents. And the Christmas we are giving today is mostly from 1700, and then it wasn't this everyone should have a Christmas present, but still many people had to tell other people you can't think that you are going to have a Christmas present. It was the poem The Night Before Christmas in 1800 that changed everything, and after that it was so clear everyone should have a Christmas present. Santa Claus, well, he became famous. The monk who went up the houses and just put down some money for these 3 girls who were prostitutes, so they didn't have to go and make their job. So these 3 girls, they had right where the money fell a sock, and then it became a Christmas sock, the American Christmas sock today. It's amazing, the monk who didn't have any money. The Christmas calendar is something really popular around kids all over the world, with a number 1 to 24, and you can open a gift every day. But the story behind is a bookkeeper in the year 1908, and he took his mother's idea. She was putting cookies 1 till 24, so he could take a cookie every day until Christmas. So he started this, and he was having pictures behind. So every day you can open a new picture. And then the Christianity took it over, and it was a hole behind every 1 till 24. And the year 950, then the chocolate Christmas calendar was born! Everyone thinks this Santa Claus is the real Santa and the history behind it, but we have in so many places that it's Odin. Even mentioned in Edda, Heimdallskringlan. And in Constantinople, the year 900, they are writing about this crazy Yule feast, where the Vikings were running around the tree and having fun, sharing Yule, Yule, Yule all day long. But still, the history behind this is there was this hunt, the big hunt of all the gods, and the leader was Odin, and it was between Halloween and New Year's Eve, and everyone in the farms know that they would have to hide. As soon as they would hear a sound, a big sound, they would have to hide, because then Odin was on his way with Sleipnir, or some even say with his wolves, were dragging the cavern behind him. And if you see it, then maybe you become one of his soldiers and then go to the underground afterwards. But nobody saw it. And they put socks outside their houses. And a little bit for the horse to eat, Sleipnir and stuff like that. And some say that they found presents there the day after too. But back to the game. Odin, he hunted this skogsrådet, we say here in Scandinavia. And she lures men in the forest with her beauty outside, so they got lost and confused and never ever came back. And some say that the only way you could tell it's skogsrådet is by her tail, and some say it's when she turns her back, it's full of grass or moss. In the year 1005 until 1008, it wasn't allowed for the Vikings in England to celebrate Viking Yule at all. The rituals were not okay at all. And then the hunt for this demon Santa Claus began. The little Santa is mentioned in Rome even before Christ, in the folklore. We had a really bad Santa. It was the Santa on the farms. They weren't so good. In the year 400, there is a story behind a little girl. She was trying to take his porridge, and he got so mad that he beat her up, so she almost died. And there's a lot of those stories about our Santa, or Santa farmers, we can call them. They are short, like a 5-year-old, running around, a little bit stubborn. You don't mess with them. You are giving them gifts and you are giving them porridge. So they get happy and on good terms with you. And they are looking after the farm and the horses. They don't really like people, but you can't leave that one. It follows you wherever you move. It goes with you. Often dressed with grey shirt and red hat. This little Santa became something big for the Christianity. They forbid thinking about them. They forbid having them at home. And they were trying to hunt them down and break them down. So they were doing exorcism at home, at people's home, just to get rid of this. And the last person standing and was burned down because she got doomed for having this Santa in a horse at home. The Good Nails, he was his name. So she stood up for herself and this little Santa and got burned. And then finally the Christians people decided that Santa was okay and we were making him red. But still, in Sweden and the Nordic landscape, many believe in this little Santa that's running around. And the biggest proof we have of this Santa is mainly at our horses. As you can see, this is from the little Santa climbing up, clapping the horse. They don't know if it's the farm Santa or the small people, but still it's the proof we have these days. Some say they see footprints of them, and well, you don't hear a lot that this Santa has gotten mad and turned all of this upside down in the farm anymore. But still, you have to be on good foot with them. The Christmas goat is also something amazing. Some say it was a sacrifice to Thor, and some say it was a sacrifice to Njord. Still, it's amazing. In Edda they say Njord, but some other are thinking Thor. The Christmas goat is something we have close to us in Sweden even now, even if it's not in real life like it used to be. The Christmas goat was even in the story of Santa Claus, that he made this goat, this demon goat, become a good goat. And he walked around houses with its goat, and everyone can see that it's become a good goat. He made it good. Well, it's a lovely story, but I don't believe it. It was probably a normal goat. And people started to take this goat stuff a little bit too seriously. They were starting putting goat's head on herself and some long blanket afterwards, and running around trying to make people happy, and they realized they couldn't get food and liquid to this. So they were running around doing tricks and getting this stuff. And when they got happy and got their food, they were starting to throw in dolls in the house. And maybe that's the beginning of Christmas presents. But in 1500, it had gone so wrong that Denmark put it all down. It wasn't allowed anymore running around like a goat. I can imagine it went a little bit too far. When you think about Santa Claus and the reindeers, you are thinking this has been forever, but it hasn't. In 1800, the Samic people from Norway took with them 500 reindeers over to the North Pole. And in the North Pole, they decided with the Americans to start selling reindeer food. Some meat. They were thinking this was going to be really nice. So they made this marketing with reindeers and a Santa and some Christmas presents. And of course, Santa Claus was born. Well, you all probably heard about this Christmas stock. And the stock that we burn in 12 to 13 days around the Christmas time. Some say it's from the medieval, some say it's from the Vikings, some say it's from the Celtics, but no one knows. And for a fact, there's no actually writing about this before the 1500. But you can believe whatever. I'm thinking if you're going to have a big feast, why not bring a really big stock to keep the fire going? And of course we had Christmas witches too. The most popular is from Iceland, and it's about Glira and her cats. If you haven't been a nice child, then Glira would take you home and cook you for dinner in her cave. And if you didn't have any new socks, then Glira's cat will swallow you into the stomach and you will disappear forever. We had even nicer witches too. Like in Norway, we just put away the broom so the witches didn't come and visit our home. And in Germany, you got a silver coin in your shoe if you have been nice. And if you have been bad, then it got bad. The witches opened the stomachs of the children and took out all inside and put in other stuff. And you were dead. It's like the thing with witches. It's so different all over the world. But still, if you're nice and are doing as the witches have told you, then it's good. And if you don't, then you're dead. There are even some stories about the witches. If you didn't weave your linen correctly until the 13th day after Christmas, then the witches will come to you. So you have to hurry up. The Christmas is special in many ways. And in Sweden it's popular with this Mara. It's from the darker side. And it's nightmares. All night nightmares. And the Mara, well, she's a normal person and she doesn't know that she's a Mara. She doesn't know that she hunts down people's mind in their sleep every night. So it's too bad for her. It's like the werewolf. They don't know it. And the small people we were talking about, they are, well, a 5-year-old are like this. Small people were like this until your knee. And they were helping out at the farm. They were living in big groups underneath the houses. And well, they borrowed things. And often they put them back. And if they didn't, then you have to ask them nicely to put them back. They like the horses and the cows and everything at the farm, but you have to treat them right. And well, they didn't dislike people and the people didn't dislike them, but people were afraid of them. So many times you give them gifts and you give them some porridge and stuff like that, so they get on good terms with you. And you have to, if you spill milk or something on the floor, you have to speak out, watch out, so they have the time to move away from it. Then you get a good terms with them and they become happy, but they borrow a lot from the home. Knytt is something that's been in the folklore for many, many years in the Scandinavian countries. And it's a small people with tails and big ears and running around in the forest. If they were born in a calm place like this one, they would have been nicer. But if it was in the waterfalls, then it would become stressed out and stuff like that. And they were dressed exactly as the surroundings where they were born. Like in this place, it will be brown, green, and gray colors. But I'm thinking, what if they were born in the summer? Would it be red, like flowers, blue, like other flowers? We don't know. But still, they protected the ground, and you didn't mess with them, so they didn't mess with you. But they were the Knyts that were really bad, and they liked to play with humans and make them totally go insane. Many people say you can't trust fairies, but if you think about it, and if you see this one, then you can see the fairies had a purpose too. When the angels couldn't see from the skies, and the one deaf children couldn't reach the sky up to the heaven, then the fairies made this one to help the children up in the air. And the horses helped the small children up to heaven. Well, we all heard of this werewolf, and you've seen it in Hollywood on 2 legs, standing and growling. Sometimes can shift himself whenever they want to. In fact, werewolves in the Nordic countries were a wolf. It looked like a wolf, it was just faster, sometimes bigger, but faster. And the person who were a werewolf didn't know it was a werewolf at all. And that was something we lived with many years in folklore, this werewolf. And then the Christians came, and they told us, if you were born on Christmas Day or around Christmas, then it was a slap in the face on God. And then you became more problematic terms of becoming a werewolf. So you have to do everything in your power not to be born or get a birth of a child on the Christmas. Well, we have something left about from the Celts too. And it's Mary Lyd in Wales, where you decorate a horse head filled with all stuff you can come across, and they're walking around houses to houses and bring joy and happiness, and it's a good omen.